Let's throw some jabs.
The fight starts now!
Todd Grisham filling in for Chris Mannix on jabs. Unfortunately, Sergio Mora did not call in sick this week. He is with us. Sergio, let's talk about the big story of the week. Manny Pacquiao versus Ugas. Unfortunately for the Pac-Man, it may be the end of the line as he loses a unanimous decision in Las Vegas. I was there, Sergio. I went as a fan, as certainly a bittersweet moment for me. What were your thoughts as you watched that fight?
Legends die hard, Grisham. This is what we do as fans, and this is how we react. You know, we were with them from the beginning all the way to the end, and this is how they go out. And Pacquiao didn't go out like a normal legend. He didn't go out, retiring on his stool or getting beat up or getting knocked out. He gave it all he has. And whenever you have a legend, an 8 division world champion, a superstar like Pacquiao, who was able to fight from the first bell all the way to the last bell, stay on his feet and give it everything he has, then you have nothing to complain about. It was a great career. If this is his last fight, he went out the way he wanted, and he went out on his 2 feet with his 2 fists flying, man. Bravo.
I'll say the best part of that fight for me was the introduction when they hit Eye of the Tiger and Manny Pacquiao came down with that big smile on his face. He's never lost the love for the sport. He never lost the love for his people, for his fans. He enjoyed what he did, and no one did it better this late in their career than perhaps the Pac-Man himself. But Sergio, big picture, why did he lose this fight?
Late replacement. I say it all the time. We see it all the time, Grisham. Whenever you have an event and you have 2 fighters preparing for one another, they're focused, they're preparing, their camp, everything physical, mental is for one fighter, then everything gets thrown out of the mix. And just to save the date, to save the event, another replacement, a substitute comes in. And the closer to the fight, the worse it is for the A-side fighter. And 10 days out, going from a southpaw beast like Spence to Ugas, who's an excellent fighter, an Olympian, excellent pedigree, much bigger, leaner, longer. 10 days is not enough. You're not focused. It's a timing thing. Pacquiao has fought every great fighter you could think of.
Exactly.
But it's not enough.
But you're telling me
it's not enough.
11 days isn't enough for Ugas?
No, it's not enough for Pacquiao. Ugas had a chance of a lifetime. It was his golden ticket.
He needs more than 11 days to prepare for Ugas. Remember, Ugas only had the same amount of time for Manny Pacquiao. Pacquiao's been there with every single great fighter of his generation, some multiple times. He lost this fight not because of anything mental, not because, he's surrounded by, I was there, he's surrounded by 50 people at all times. His life is chaos. He's never clear, calm, mental. That's not his thing. He lost this fight because he's not what he once was. He got hit by 59% of Ugas's power punches. Where's the elusiveness? Where was the in and out? He was getting hit coming in. He was getting hit coming out. And even Manny afterwards said, I wasn't myself. It was my legs. Maybe I overtrained. I don't know what it was, but that wasn't me in there.
It was his legs and it was his age. Manny Pacquiao is going to be 43 years old in December. He's already way past his prime, way past his good days. The legs was one thing. The inactivity, especially 2 years out of the ring, when you're that old and when you're that shop worn, when you've gone through so many wars, it's bound to catch up to you. It should have caught up to Manny Pacquiao 10 years ago, but it just shows you how great this man is. Throw in the late replacement against a hella good fighter in Ugas, who was on a winning streak, should have beat Sean Porter, has that Olympic pedigree, has just the wrong style matchup for Pacquiao. It was just, the writing was on the wall. It was just, the stars were aligned for a great fighter to finally come up short, and we saw it. This is how legends die, man. This is how legends go out, I should say.
Well, hey, I don't care if he had 9 years to prepare for Ugas. If his legs weren't working, he was losing that fight, and that's what happened. So now the question is, what is the future for Manny Pacquiao? Afterwards, he said this may be the last time he fights. He put it at like 60 to 40%. He's running for president, it looks like, Philippines. He's already a senator. He has so much going on in his life. Sergio, if you were advising the senator, what would your advice be?
I will tell him to go out on top and go out with one more fight, but not against a professional fighter. Collect one big paycheck on that name that you worked so hard on creating. Do exactly what Floyd Mayweather did. Go fight a Conor McGregor. Go fight a kickboxer in another country. Go fight one of these YouTubers. Just get a big payday and go off into the sunset, because if anybody deserves it, it's Manny Pacquiao. But what he shouldn't do is come back and get a rematch with Ugas, go fight an Errol Spence or Keith or a Keith Thurman or a Porter or anyone young or anyone relevant. Go out and fight someone irrelevant. Go fight someone like a Todd Grisham or a Chris Mannix.
Hey, I'll take that payday. But this is Manny Pacquiao we're talking about here, Sergio. He said he just didn't want to come back and collect paychecks. He specifically said that. He wanted to come back and be a champion. That's why he wanted Errol Spence against everyone's advice. And who knows what that fight would have looked like, considering how Pacquiao, how average he looked and pedestrian he looked against Ugas. But I don't think Pacquiao's the kind of guy that's going to want to come back and fight a YouTuber. He wants to come back and try and win a world title because he still thinks, or at least he thought before the Ugas fight, that he was the best in that weight division in the world. I just don't see the Senator coming back and beating up on Jake Paul.
Hey, listen, man, you asked me what I would do if I was advising Manny Pacquiao, not what Manny Pacquiao is thinking of doing, what he is doing. That's why we love the Pac-Man, because he took on every big challenge. He didn't take any step-aside money. He didn't fight a stay-busy fight or a tune-up fight. He went straight to the top, one of the biggest and baddest challenges, and took him down, conquered giants. But if I was his advisor, I'll say, let's get the money and run, Manny. I mean, you already put in all the work. The legacy is there. The respect is there. We all love you. You're a senator. You're going to be a president one day. Let's collect $100 million more. Let's fight so-and-so over here.
Hey, I could use another 100 million myself. But let's not dismiss Ugas right now. We talked about the future of the Senator. What do you think the future is for this Cuban who now is the legitimate WBA champion? If you can say legitimate next to WBA. He's the legitimate champion. He wants Errol Spence next. Is that what you recommend?
Yes, and I think he deserves it. Ugas deserves it. And you know what? Bravo. I'm so happy for Ugas because he's had some hard luck. You know, he's been to the top. He's come up short. He was an Olympic medalist. He's a lot of these Cubans that come to the States. They have so much talent, but they just come up short on the big fights. And Ugas was able to conquer a legend in the big fight. So he's gonna be able to put that on his resume and be able to make a lot of money going forward, whether it's Spence or any other champion. So yeah, it's time for him to reap the benefits of beating Manny Pacquiao. And Ugas, sky's the limit for him. He has a big check coming.
I was going to say the one thing perhaps more important than the world title that's now around Ugas's waist is name recognition. Boxing fans and many casuals as well now know who he is and want to see what he does next. So now that Ugas pulled off a big win and a big fight over Manny Pacquiao, Sergio, I'm wondering who's most likely to pull off another big fight upset going forward. Will it be Caleb Plant over Canelo Alvarez? Will it be Deontay Wilder over Tyson Fury? Or will it be Alexander Usyk versus Anthony Joshua? What say you, Latin Snake?
I'm going to go with Alexander Usyk because he has everything you need to conquer a giant, to slay a big man in the big heavyweight division, because he's done it before. You know, if you go back to the World Series of Boxing, he fought Joe Joyce, who's 6'6", way bigger than Anthony Joshua, and he was able to win and handle him. He has that Olympic pedigree, so he's fought big men and big giants before, and he has the footwork. He knows how to be elusive, use angles, fight from that left-handed stance, chop opponents in half, keep the fight in the middle of the ring. All the things you need to slay a giant. This reminds me of, if you go back to another giant who was undefeated, 27-0, 27 knockouts, 6'8", Vitaly Klitschko. Who beat him? Chris Bird, 6'1". How did he do it? And another Southpaw Olympian, by the way. How did he do it? By doing exactly what I just said, by taking the fight to the second half of the fight, pecking him away, cutting him in half, and frustrating, tiring the bigger man. I mean, that's exactly how you take down a giant. You just move aside, use the angles, don't stay in front of them.
Well, that's how you take down a giant. I think one giant's going to beat another giant. I think Deontay Wilder could beat, and maybe will, I'm going to go on the record, I think he beats Tyson Fury. We all know that Tyson Fury, it's all about what headspace he's in, where he's at mentally. He just had to pull out of the fight. He had the AJ negotiations done, had to pull out of that fight. He got COVID, and then the next day he's posting pictures of him car shopping. He's allegedly got a black eye in training. There's a lot of things floating around about Tyson Fury, about where he is and what his priorities, or where his priorities lie. As for Deontay Wilder, we don't hear too much from him, which is crazy because the last 10 years, the guy wouldn't hardly shut up, right? But he is so focused on this one man. He was embarrassed. Let's be honest. I think that's where those excuses came from Deontay Wilder. Well, there were so many of them. He just could not fathom that this guy beat him, and he came up with every excuse in the book. He is so determined right now to beat Tyson Fury. I wouldn't bet against him.
And Tyson Fury just had a newborn baby as well, so he's juggling that along with training and promotion and everything else you just mentioned. But yeah, whenever you have power, erasing power like Deontay Wilder, yeah, you're always going to give him an opportunity to win. And yeah, what you just touched on is exactly right. It reminds me of Clubber Lang, how he took that fight against Rocky Balboa, not doing press, being in the garage, just, thinking of winning, thinking of just training and destroying this man. And yeah, that's the beauty of boxing. Then you have Tyson Fury traveling the world, promoting, taking pictures, kissing babies. Yeah, I mean, that's exactly what I'm saying. But no, stylistically, we already seen Tyson Fury outbox and outfight and knock out, Wilder. So that's why I'm sticking to my pick. And when it comes to Caleb Plant, excellent fighter who's going to give Canelo issues. I just don't think he has the resume or the experience that Canelo has and going up on that stage. So yeah, I'm sticking to my pick.